Okay, so you're probably here because you want the real story on vehicle costs. EVs, petrol cars, hybrids. It's confusing out there, right?
Really is. Lots of headlines, lots of noise.
Exactly. So we're going to try and cut through that today, give you some clarity.
Yeah, we're doing a deep dive based on some work from Calpurnia Insights. And what's interesting is how they got their data.
How was that?
Well, they didn't just, look at press releases. They actually went into the service catalogs, painstakingly, I imagine,
Wow, okay.
comparing actual maintenance, actual component prices across the different powertrains.
Yeah.
That takes some serious effort.
No kidding. So that's our goal here, really. Use this data to give a fact-based comparison. What really are the ownership costs? And what should people actually be thinking about when they buy a car?
Precisely. And one of the first things they tackle is this idea that maybe some reporting has been, well, misleading.
Misleading how?
They argue there's just confusing information floating around. So to counter that, they put together this huge Excel sheet. It's actually public.
Oh, really? What's in it?
Individual prices for drivetrain parts.
Yeah.
Loads of them. Catalog numbers, pictures of the parts.
Actual pictures?
Yeah, and notes on price differences between countries. They even had to use U.S. catalogs sometimes because European data was missing for certain brands. Shows you the lengths they went to.
That's proper research. So what was the philosophy behind looking at all this?
Well, they came up with these three key ideas, these parameters: simple, serviceable, and accessible.
Simple, serviceable, accessible. Okay, break that down for us. Why those three?
They think these are crucial, not just for us as car owners, but for the whole service industry, Think about it. If cars get super complex and only dealerships can fix them or get the parts.
Right, costs go up, fewer people can fix them.
Exactly. You end up replacing whole, big, expensive units instead maybe a small faulty part. And it affects the workforce, too, who's going to be trained to fix these things if access is limited. It becomes a real problem.
Makes sense. Complexity isn't just a headache, it's a cost multiplier down the line. So getting into the specifics, what did they find about the actual hardware? Batteries, for instance.
Yes, batteries. They had a specific warning about the type of battery cells.
Type, like not just the size.
Exactly. They flagged pouch cells.
Mm-hmm.
You find them in things like the Mercedes EQB, the Nissan Leaf, the older Kona EV as potentially less reliable, maybe even a safety concern in some cases.
Okay, that's definitely not something most buyers would think about. What's the alternative then?
They strongly recommend looking for EVs with cylindrical cells or the prismatic or blade type cells. That should be like a key checklist item if you're buying an EV, according to this research.
Good to know. Cylindrical or prismatic. Got it. Now, the battery pack itself, the big elephant in the room. Always hear it's the biggest cost, the most critical thing in an EV. True.
Well, here's where it gets interesting. According to Calpurnia Insights, that's actually a bit of a misconception, at least in terms of criticality.
Really? How so?
They argue that operationally, the electric motors, the onboard charger, the OBC, and the heat pump are more critical than the battery.
More critical than the thing that holds the power.
Yeah. Their thinking is the motors make it go, the OBC is vital for charging it, the heat pump manages all the thermal stuff, which affects efficiency, battery life. The battery provides the juice, yes, but the reliability and cost of those other components should maybe be higher on your worry list. They actually rank the battery last in terms of criticality.
Huh. That definitely shifts the focus. So we should be more concerned about motor or OBC pricing than just the battery replacement cost.
That seems to be their point, yes, especially looking at long-term reliability and repair costs.
Okay, so sticking with batteries for a second, how do the costs compare across EV, hybrid, IC?
This was another eye-opener. Hybrid batteries, they're the most expensive per kilowatt hour.
Wait, the smaller hybrid batteries cost more per unit of energy?
On average, yes. About 40% higher per kilowatt than typical EV battery systems. Maybe it's complexity, maybe lower volume, but that's what the data showed.
40%, that's massive. So how does that play out in the total cost of the whole drivetrain system?
Well, on average, again, and this is key, it's an average hybrid drivetrains came out as the most expensive overall.
More than petrol or diesel?
More than ICE, yeah. And ICE was second. EV drivetrains, on average, were the cheapest.
Okay, well, so hybrid's most expensive drivetrain, then ICE, then EV is the cheapest on average. That flips the script a bit, doesn't it?
It certainly challenges some common assumptions. That expensive per kilowatt hybrid battery seems to push the total system cost up.
Right. Now, something that drives owners crazy is repairs. Getting things fixed outside the main dealer, getting the whole right to repair thing. What did the research uncover there?
Oh, this is a big one. They found some really let's say, challenging practices from certain manufacturers. They actually name names.
Okay, let's hear it. Who's making life difficult?
Quite a list, unfortunately. XPeng, MG, BYD, Stellantis, that's Fiat, Peugeot, Citroën, Vauxhall, Jeep, etc. Honda, Nissan, Volvo, Rivian, Lucid, Mazda, Hyundai, and Kia.
Wow, that covers a lot of ground. What are they doing wrong? Give us some examples.
Okay, so for MG and BYD, apparently their RMI systems, that's the repair and maintenance information, weren't even properly activated or working when they checked.
So no info for independent garages.
Pretty much. And for Lucid and Rivian, it was worse. They found no RMI systems at all, which basically locks out anyone but them.
Yikes. That's not good for owners long term. What about others on that list?
Well, Hyundai apparently has issues just providing basic invoices for parts sometimes, which is a nightmare for a small garage's bookkeeping.
It's just basic paperwork.
Seems so. And Kia got called out for being slow to approve access to their RMI system, and also for blocking Kia Connect services for owners in places like Croatia and Slovenia. Restricting features regionally like that is not ideal.
These sound like serious roadblocks. It's not just the car's price, is it? It's the lifetime cost and hassle.
Absolutely. And it bleeds into warranties, too. They flagged Stellantis, Mercedes, Kia, and Hyundai for having questionable warranty practices.
Questionable how?
With Kia and Hyundai, specifically KMAG operations in some areas, they found evidence of them shortening the official service intervals.
Making you service it more often than the factory originally said.
Exactly, and then tying your warranty directly to following that tighter schedule. So you're paying for potentially unnecessary servicing just to keep your warranty valid.
That feels less about the car and more about service revenue. You also mentioned big price differences for parts depending on where you are.
Yeah, this was really striking. Big gaps between, say, Germany, France, and the Balkans for the exact same part.
How big are we talking?
Well, one distributor group, Grand Automotive, they handle MG, Renault, Dacia, Nissan. In some regions, their parts were consistently 20 to 40% more expensive than elsewhere.
20 to 40%.
Yep. It could literally be cheaper to buy your car in one country and drive it to Italy or Austria for servicing, just because the parts costs are so much lower there.
That's wild. It shows a real lack of transparency. And didn't you say that Dacia Spring was a particular worry?
Yes. The spring situation sounded quite alarming, frankly. The suggestion from Calprini Insights is that parts prices might be deliberately inflated.
Why would they do that?
The suspected strategy is to make repairs so expensive that even relatively minor damage leads to the car being written off by insurance, which then pushes people to buy a new car instead of fixing the old one.
So any bump and it's potentially a total loss.
That was the implication, that the cost of parts makes it uneconomical to repair very quickly, and the knock-on effect is potentially much higher insurance premiums for spring owners. They even threw out a comparison suggesting it could cost more to insure than, like, a Porsche Panamera, which sounds extreme, but illustrates the point about parts costs driving up risk.
That is a serious red flag for anyone considering one. Okay, shifting slightly the repair process itself. Are manufacturers letting garages fix components, or is it always replace the whole expensive unit?
Another key difference they found, some manufacturers do support component-level repair, which is great for costs and, waste reduction.
Who does that well?
BMW, Hyundai, Kia, Ford, Mazda, Nissan, the VW group, so VW, Audi, Skoda, and Volvo. They generally allow technicians within their networks to buy and replace individual bits.
Okay, that's good. Who doesn't?
Well, interestingly, they specifically called out Tesla here. Despite leading in lots of areas, Tesla apparently doesn't have a good internal system for replacing just individual modules or components within a battery pack.
So if one bit of the battery fails on a Tesla, it might mean a whole new pack.
That seems to be the issue highlighted, yes. It seems a bit counter to their sustainable image, perhaps, but it means potentially higher costs and more waste if a small part fails.
That is surprising. Okay, so let's get to the bottom line on costs. Who has the cheapest components overall?
Right, the winners. Tesla actually did very well here. Lowest cost per kilowatt for batteries, according to their data, and the cheapest electric motors.
Okay.
Volkswagen came out best for the cheapest onboard chargers. And if you look at the whole powertrain package value, performance, parts costs combined, Tesla and BMW were highlighted as the best.
So, Tesla and BMW leading on powertrain value and parts costs. Who's at the other end? Most expensive parts.
Globally, that dubious honor goes to Porsche. Beautiful engineering, no doubt, but be prepared for hefty parts bills if something goes wrong.
Expected? Maybe, but good to have it confirmed. Now back to those RMI systems, the right to repair info. Who's doing that well? You mentioned Tesla's low cost.
Yeah, Tesla got top marks for their RMI system. It's apparently very accessible. Even for individuals, you don't need a registered business to access the parts catalog for free. And the overall cost for full access is very low.
That's a big deal for independent garages and DIYers. Who else has good systems?
BMW, Mercedes, the VW Group again, Ford, and Toyota were also commended for having good, usable RMI systems, critical for keeping repair costs down long term.
And the worst. I guess it's the same list as before.
Largely, yes. Stellantis, Kia, Hyundai, XPeng, MG, BYD, all flagged for having subpar systems that make life difficult for anyone trying to fix the cars outside the dealer network.
So if we combine parts costs, repair complexity, RMI access, which brands look most expensive or sort of unsustainable overall?
The analysis pointed to BMW, XPeng, and BYD as having the most expensive systems overall, high parts costs, potential repair difficulties. It all adds up to a higher total cost of ownership and potentially poor return on investment.
So BMW has good powertrain value, but expensive overall system costs. How does that work?
It might be that while core powertrain parts are competitive, other systems, body panels, electronics, or even the labor rates and complexity associated with their repairs push the total ownership cost up. It's about the whole picture, not just one component.
Right, the total package. And you mentioned some brands to be extremely cautious about due to lack of support.
Yes. Specifically, Lucid and Rivian were highlighted. Because they're newer and don't yet have widespread established service and parts networks, there's a real risk. If something major goes wrong, you might find it very difficult or impossible to get it fixed readily. The car could become effectively a paperweight. Extreme caution advised there, and for any brand without a solid support system in place.
A stark warning for early adopters. What about the Chinese brands entering Europe generally? Are they set up for this kind of long-term support?
The research suggests, not really, not yet anyway, they seem largely unprepared for the scale and complexity needed for European after-sales. Problems like non-working parts catalogs, poor technical support, it's widespread.
So growing pains, or something more serious.
Calpurnia Insights seem to think it was pretty serious, even suggesting some EU reps for these brands are already thinking about pulling out because support infrastructure just isn't there and isn't scaling.
Wow. Okay, that's a challenging outlook for them. Now, throughout this, Tesla keeps coming up, often positively. What was the final take from Calpurnia Insights on Tesla?
Their conclusion was pretty blunt. They basically called Tesla the king of the road, the leader, and maybe the only manufacturer right now that's truly sustainable and financially accessible when you look at the whole ownership picture.
The only one. That's strong.
Yeah. They contrast Tesla's integrated model with traditional automakers, who they describe more like assemblers of outsourced parts. That's a very strong statement based on their deep dive into the data. Though they did also give nods to other statistically good performers like BMW, Mercedes, Hyundai, Polestar, Volvo, and Toyota.
A clear hierarchy emerging from their perspective then. And finally, for people still thinking about hybrids, what was the advice there?
Extremely specific advice. Focus only on Toyota and Lexus if you want a hybrid.
Only Toyota and Lexus. Why so narrow?
They explicitly warned against hybrids from other manufacturers, basically saying it could lead to financial trouble down the road, likely due to that higher battery cost per kilowatt we talked about, plus potentially other support or reliability issues compared to Toyota's long-established system.
Okay, very direct recommendation there. Wow. Well, this has been incredibly revealing. We've gone way beyond the usual headlines about EV range or charging speeds.
Absolutely. It really brings home how much the hidden costs of servicing, parts, and manufacturer support matter.
Hopefully this deep dive has armed you, our listener, with some better questions to ask and factors to consider. It's definitely challenged some of my own assumptions.
Mine too. And maybe the final thought for everyone listening is, next time you're looking at a car, don't just think about the purchase price. Try to think about year 5, year 10. How easy will it be to get parts? Can your local trusted mechanic actually work on it? Maybe even try searching for the RMI system for the brands you're considering. See how accessible it looks.
Great advice. That long-term view on serviceability could save a lot of headaches and money. Thanks for breaking all that down.
My pleasure. Lots to think about.
Definitely. Thanks everyone for tuning in to this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.